everyone, I'm Isaac and welcome back to Isaac Reviews 2024. Throughout the end of the 2010s and the start of the 2020s, few names have stood out from Disney's animated filmography quite like Moana. It did well for their standards when it first came out, but its true success would lie in its streaming numbers. Specifically, this is the most streamed Disney movie ever. And with all that hype surrounding it, it surely must have been a really good movie, right? Yeah, I'd say it was. It had an engaging story, the animation was beautiful per Disney standards, and the songs were all great. But even if I liked the movie, I wasn't entirely sure it needed a sequel. Not to mention, only last year, Disney announced that they were making a live-action remake of this movie despite it not even being a decade old yet.
It would be so awesome. It would be so cool.
But for Disney, money is everything, and Lord knows they can use some more money right now after how disastrous of a year 2023 was for them. And it seems an easy way for them to make money is through sequels, as two of the ones they released this year were able to crack the $1 billion mark. So it was announced that Moana 2 was on the horizon as the next major movie event from Walt Disney Animation Studios. I went over this in my Disney sequels video, so I'll try to keep this brief. Basically, Moana 2 was originally supposed to be a Disney Plus miniseries, but it got repackaged as a movie at the last minute and was only officially announced earlier this year. Even Zootopia 2 was announced earlier than this, and that doesn't come out until next year. And considering how I already didn't think we really needed a Moana 2, I did not have the highest expectations for it. I try to be open-minded and hold out hope that even something that looks like crap can still end up being good, but I still went into this one having my reservations. And now that I've seen the movie, my reservations were all but justified, because while this isn't among the worst movies I've seen this year, or even among the worst movies I've seen from WDAS, it was still pretty bad. It takes place sometime after the events of the first film, where Moana has returned to her home island and things seem to be going well until she receives a call from her ancestors to sail to a new island in order to reconnect the people of the ocean. So with the help of a new crew and her old demigod pal Maui, Moana has to set sail once again to break the ancient island's curse. It's very apparent that this movie was supposed to be a show before it got Frankensteined into a 100-minute movie, as the writing is an absolute mess. I could easily tell where the episodes would have started and ended, the editing is super clunky, and the pacing is a disaster. In turn, we don't get that much development for the characters, both old and new. The new characters aren't terrible, as they did have a sort of enjoyable dynamic at some points, and I personally headcanon they're all on the spectrum, but due to how bad the pacing is, we barely get any time to know them beyond their defining characteristics. As for the main characters, neither of them go through any significant arcs like they did last time, and the villain is even worse. We get next to nothing for him beyond him hating humans and having lightning powers that are strong enough for theaters to put up photosensitivity warning signs, and the MCU-ass mid-credit scene only further proves how royally they screwed him over. At least we got a cameo from Tamatoa though. Alright, so the writing sucks, but does it at least carry over the great animation and songs from before? I don't know. Starting with the songs, it's very apparent that Lin-Manuel Miranda couldn't return for this one, and while his replacements, Abigail Barlow and Emily Bear, try to replicate his songwriting style, even down to the fast-paced rapping, it's just not the same. I mean, the songs are fine as they are, but they pale in comparison to the absolute bops we got last time. As for the animation, that also got a considerable downgrade from last time. In case you didn't know, Disney actually outsourced this movie's animation to their studio in Canada, likely when it was still in development as a show, so I can't begin to imagine how bad the crunch was for the animators working on it. And the end result is good, but not great. It's energetic enough and the environments look fine, but the water is considerably less pretty than it was before, and it overall just doesn't have the same polish or detail, especially when you consider that the first Moana came out 8 years ago. I wish I could say more, but Moana 2 unfortunately doesn't have a lot to work with. It's not terrible, but it's still a forgettable movie and a sequel we didn't really need in the first place. The writing and pacing are awful, with little in the way of character development, and the animation and songs, while decent, are nowhere near as good as what we got before. Even if you liked the first Moana, you're better off waiting for this one to come out on Disney+. As for me, I'll be giving Moana 2 a 4 out of 10, and all I can say to Disney now is that you better not screw up Zootopia 2 or else we will be having words. Anyways, thanks for watching this episode of Isaac Reviews 2024, subscribe for more videos like this, and I'll see you all later.